Hello, everyone. Welcome to Book Break, this fine July Wednesday. I am Kirstra, one of the librarians here at Grace Public Library. I moderate the Pints and Prose book discussion group, as well as the virtual science fiction and fantasy book discussion group. And I am here, as always, with my colleague, Claire.
Hello, everyone. I'm Claire. I moderate the Facebook historical fiction and also the As the Page Turns. So,
excellent.
Welcome.
Yay. And today, Claire and I thought that we would talk to you about beach reads. It is that season. We may not all be able to take vacation this year, but everybody's got like a porch swing or a lawn chair or a hammock and
hammock reads. I like
hammock
that.
reads. Yes, definitely. So we have picked some hammock reads that we enjoyed that we would like to recommend to you. Do you want to start, Claire?
Oh, sure. I'll start with my first one, which in keeping with this season is called The Vacationers by Emma Straub. And this is about a family who is in a number of crises, but has decided to take a trip to Mallorca, Spain. So we can all virtually travel with them. It's kind of a wealthy New York family. Mom is an editor, I believe, of a magazine. Dad has just embroiled himself in a scandal where he's had an affair with a young intern and gotten fired. So this family is kind of in a state of disarray, if you will. They've invited a number of friends. One of the mom's friends is a gay couple who is struggling with, shall we adopt, shall we not adopt? So you have all these very interesting character storylines. And of course, they have a teenage daughter who's a senior who throws that additional angst, if anyone who was a parent of a child of that age would know. And she also meets a young instructor. So there's a different level of different romances, how this marriage is going to pan out, all the while in this beautiful setting. So it's nice to read about someone else's problems. You know, it allows you to escape your own situation.
Definitely.
And of course, Emma Straub does it in a very funny way. It's not terribly deep, but it is. It's very enjoyable, and it's interesting getting into the lives of these characters. So I highly recommend The Vacationers.
Nice. Yes, I enjoy reading about other people's vacations while I am on vacation.
Yes, yeah, definitely.
So I'm going to start with, so I don't think I've talked about this yet on Book Break, but I have a weakness for celebrity memoirs. I love them.
Oh.
And I particularly enjoy them if you can get the audio read by the celebrity. That's like the best way to do it. But I do have with me This Will Only Hurt a Little by byizzy Phillips. So this one I read last summer, I think, and I listened to it. It's available on Libby in audio, read by the author. So byizzy Phillips, if you don't recognize her, is mostly a TV actress. She's done some movies, but she made her name in Freaks and Geeks. She was on Dawson's Creek for a while, and then she was on Cougar Town for like 6 years. And I really enjoyed this book. The best celebrity memoirs, in my opinion, are dishy. And this one definitely is. Like, she, of course, like, she names names and like is not afraid to let people know what really happened. But it's also like there's, we go all the way from her growing up in Scottsdale, Arizona, to sort of breaking into Hollywood, which I always find those stories very interesting, like why one person made it where other people don't.
Right.
And then all the way to sort of the present, and the present as of, I think this book came out like 4 or 5 years ago. But she's got a very sort of open and honest voice. She, like I said, she definitely dishes and names names, but she's also very honest about like herself and her own mess. one of the things that Busy Phillips is known for is being really good friends with Michelle Williams. They'll often do red carpet events together. So there is a bit about Michelle Williams and Heath Ledger in there. And Busy has also had some hardship in her life that she talks very openly about. So I really enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun. It still has some more deeper moments. Like I actually want my teenage daughter to read this book. I think it would be really useful for her. But I really liked it. So celebrity memoirs, I have a whole list, but This Will Only Hurt a Little by Busy Phillips was a really good one.
Okay. Well, you know me. I love memoirs as well.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I'm a big fangirl of the Celebrity Book Club, which we all know. This one is one of the recent Reese Witherspoon picks, Lucy Foley, The Guest List. And I will say, I'm starting to follow Jenna and Oprah and giving everyone equal time for my celebrity guest list. But this one, The Guest List, Lucy Foley also wrote one called The Hunting Party. And this is very similar. It's because don't we all love a good murder on vacation? You
absolutely. Know? File it under other people's problems.
Yeah. When you were talking about beach reads, I was just like, does murder fall into a beach read? Does for me. I don't know what that says about me. But The Guest List, it's a very exclusive wedding. Of course, it's a very rich, wealthy, beautiful couple. She has started an online magazine, and the groom is a star of kind of a survival kind of show. Mm-hmm. So they set their wedding on this remote island off the coast of Ireland. So here we are, and he went to an exclusive private British school. And you find out right away that there are definitely secrets, of course, to be had, which, of course, every good British murder mystery has secrets. So the guests come in. We have rowdy groomsmen, obviously hiding something. The bride herself has one attendant, and it's her half-sister because her mother was an aspiring actress. So there's lots of like trash and dishiness. You know, this is not a deep novel by any, but it's very entertaining and you just can't stop. So obviously her sister has had trauma in her life. So we're trying to figure out that storyline. And then, of course, you know, the night of the wedding itself, I don't want to give too much away, but even though we've had beautiful weather, there's a horrible storm, the power goes out, and of course, a body is found. So, of course, and you're trying to figure out who the body is, what happened. It's very entertaining. So, The Guest List, and if you do like this one, The Hunting Party was pretty much the same, only it was a group of college friends that went to a remote area in Scotland and pretty much had a body turn up there. So
nice. Oh, that sounds right up my alley. I'm gonna have to put that on my list for sure.
Yeah, I actually, of course, succumb to Book of the Month Club, so I'll just lend you my copy.
Perfect. You know? No, that's awesome. So speaking of murder, I'm gonna take it like even a step darker because my next book is Sharp Objects by Gillian Flynn. It's super dark. So I don't know, there's something about, for me, like laying on a beach or in a hammock, like perfectly safe and reading about like
mayhem,
scary, creepy mayhem. Yeah. And that's what this book is. So our main character is Camille Preaker. She is a sort of cub reporter in Chicago. And she gets assigned to go back to her hometown in the Ozarks to cover 2 child murders that have happened in her hometown. So she doesn't.
You had me when you said Ozarks,
right? So she doesn't want to go back. She's very resistant. We find out she is completely estranged from her family. So from her mother, whom she hasn't spoken to in years. And she has a half sister who is 13, so significantly younger from her mother's second marriage, who she barely knows. So she goes back and it's one of those where we start to learn, like, it doesn't take long that Camille is barely holding it together. You find out pretty early on she's just gotten out of a stint in a psychiatric hospital. We're not 100% sure why right away, but again, you start to sort of piece that together as we go. It's not super hard to piece together that part. But so she goes back and she ends up staying in her mother's house. And it's one of those things where, like, it even happens to me. I notice it when you stay with your parents, like, you start to sort of slip back into old patterns. And you find yourself just right back in the same dynamic. And in this case, it's a super unhealthy dynamic.
Oh, no.
So she's investigating these murders. It's summer in the Ozarks, so it's just like oppressively hot and sticky. And that sort of oppressive, hot atmosphere just kind of sits over everything that happens. And while she's there, there's another body that's discovered. We start learning more about the secrets in Camille's past. We start learning more about the dynamic between her mother and her new stepsister, which again, super unhealthy. Like, everything is unhealthy and dark and kind of broken. And there is a twist of sorts at the end. So it really kept me hooked. Again, there's something about feeling completely safe and reading about people who are not, that I enjoy in the summertime. So I really enjoyed Sharp Objects. It's got a very different feel to it than Gone Girl. So if you did or didn't like Gone Girl, like, this is a very different book.
I think, like many people, I didn't like Gone Girl because I couldn't really pull for either one of the characters. So is she someone I can pull for, or?
I think so. She's deeply damaged, like a deeply damaged person, but and not all of the choices that she makes are good ones during the course of the book, but you get a lot more about sort of why she is the way she is than I think you do in Gone Girl. Like, there's a little more exploration of that. But I liked it. There was an HBO miniseries that came out last summer, the summer before, I'm not sure, that I thought was also an excellent adaptation starring Amy Adams. So I recommend both the miniseries and the book if you like your summers dark and creepy.
Oh, the one thing about reading a mystery like that is sometimes in the summer, I like just devouring it from start to finish. And when I'm on vacation, I have the time to do that. Because I find if I put them down and pick them up I kind of lose the track or interest in it. So
yeah, you lose momentum.
Yeah, so I feel like it's kind of the perfect time to read something about that.
Definitely.
So continuing on my dark path, this one is it's interesting because it kind of combines adventure, journey, and the outdoors. It's The River by Peter Heller. And we have two college roommates that were best friends, kind of bonded over their love of the adventure, the outdoors, and also very literate, both enjoyed reading, poetry, things that most people, you wouldn't think would like. But anyway, they've decided to take this trip in the Canadian Rockies. They envision themselves canoeing, solitude, stars, just kind of enjoying the outdoors. Well, they start paddling and they're journeying along, and they go to a lookout point and they notice a forest fire, like in the distance. So now they're beginning to panic because they don't have cell reception. They know that there's only a certain amount of time to get to checkpoint, and they're beginning to feel pressure about whether or not they're going to make it and beat this forest fire that they've seen raging in the distance. So the second part is, as they're making their way along, they come across a group of unsavory characters that kind of gives them trouble, and then two, a couple And it's a man and a woman, and they could hear them arguing. They've seen their camp. So the next day, they begin to worry that maybe we should go tell people about this fire because we all need to get out of this area. And they go back to that camp, and there's nothing there. And then later on, as they're journeying forward, they see a man alone in the canoe. They're pretty sure it's the same man that they saw arguing, and they're wondering what happened to that woman. So they go back and they find her, and then it becomes a journey of who knows what. She was left pretty much for dead. Why did this happen? How are they involved? And are they going to get out alive before they are engulfed with the fire? So it's a lot of mystery, intrigue, adventure, survival. If you like survival or Survivor the show, you probably would love this book. Right up until the very end. So yeah, it's a great summer read, and if you like the outdoors, I really recommend it too. Just a good character study. Kind of has sad at the ending. I don't want to give too much away, but not everyone makes it out alive.
Oh my goodness. Okay, I am definitely putting that one on my list too. I'm going to come out of this with like all of your books in a stack on my desk.
Well, this is a problem because then I read the books that you recommend, and then we don't have anything new to talk about. It's like, but I want to talk about that book that Kirsten read that now I read, So.
Oh, that's funny. Maybe at some point we should decide on a couple of books that we're going to read, and then just the two of us do like a spoiler special and talk.
I like that.
All right, we'll put it on the calendar. So my last book today is something completely different. I have The Secret History of the Pink Carnation by Lauren Willig. And this is historical romance. It is not a deep or heavy book. It is not creepy. It is not dark. It is like light and airy. It is a little confection. So like many of Lauren Willig's books, this one is set up with two timelines. So there's a modern timeline and a historical one. In the modern timeline, we have Eloise. She is an American scholar. She is in London researching the Scarlet Pimpernel. So she's, I think, writing her dissertation about the Scarlet Pimpernel and the Purple Gentian and their whole society. And while she's there, she finds these papers, letters and diaries that refer to another character called the Pink Carnation, who is another character in this sort of, so the Scarlet Pimpernel, his thing was he was a British aristocrat during the Regency, and he would disguise himself and sneak into France and rescue French aristocrats from the guillotine and sneak them back over to England. So this Pink Carnation is another freedom fighter, I guess we would say, along the same lines, working at the same time, that she had never heard of. So in the present, we've got Eloise doing this research, and she's got sort of her own romantic subplot happening. And then in the past, we get the story of Amy and her cousin Jane. Amy is half French, half English. She and her mother were forced to flee France during the Revolution, so they went to England to live with her cousin. And the two of them have all kinds of adventures, again, related to the Pink Carnation, which is how the two stories tie together. And there is romance and intrigue and plots in the historical section, and then romance again in the modern narrative. So like I said, it is like a little light confection, a little palate cleanser. So in between reading all of these dark and twisty books about murder, you can read a book about like ladies running around the British countryside in masks. But it is delightful. I, don't go into it expecting like serious literature.
Right.
Place, but this is not it. It's just fun and lighthearted and doesn't take a whole lot of concentration. And there's actually a whole series This is the first one. There's a whole series of these. They're all like flower names.
Okay.
This is the only one that I've read. I haven't gone back to read the others, but I really enjoyed it as just a lighthearted summer read.
Awesome.
Yeah. So that's what we've got. We hope you guys find some excellent summer reads. Please do drop some titles in the comments if you have a favorite summer book or a favorite kind of summer book. We're always looking for more stuff to read, and I know you all can recommend things to each other. So thank you everyone for being with us today. We will be back with you in 2 weeks, and until then, happy reading.
Happy summer. Happy reading.